For the audience who's been with us today on today's info session, do grab yourselves a cup of coffee or tea as we get into an interesting panel discussion with our IPL alumni. Kishan Malur, introducing Kishan Malur. Hi Kishan, welcome.
Hi Sharina.
Kishan is a product management professional at VMware on cloud infrastructure. In his career, he's had the opportunity to build products in various areas like cloud video delivery platform, Internet of Things, manufacturing, and now cloud infrastructure. In this exciting journey, he has been instrumental in setting up high-performance multi-site, multicultural global agile teams and leading complex global tech integrations for premium customer accounts. Kishan is involved in contributing to the product community in India. He actively mentors professionals on product management. As a career coach, he helps professionals in career transformation and acceleration. He has more than 300 hours of coaching experience and counting, of course. Kishan holds an executive MBA from the Institute of Product Leadership, MS Software Systems from BITS Pilani, and bachelor's degree from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. A fresh brew of filter coffee and great product conversations are something that Kishan usually doesn't say no to. Wonderful. Kishan, welcome on board. And
thank you, Sharina.
And Kishan will also be our moderator for today for the panel discussion. Thank you, Kishan. We also have with us Shreyaswagmari, Senior Product Manager, MindBody. Shreyas is an engineer by heart. Engineering not only gave direction to his career, but also he learned few lessons during 4 years in his hostel life. When out of college, he worked in satellite communication, only to realize that he needs to change the field. He then did a CDAC course to switch to computer science, and from then worked with 16 different storage products and cloud solutions. What brought him into product management is a frustration of engineers when they see no one is using what they built. He strongly believes that it is critical to correctly understand the customer needs, and you should exactly solve that problem through technology. Wonderful. He's working as Senior Product Manager with MindBody, trying to fill gaps between customer needs and products being built. Welcome, Shreyas.
Thanks, Sharina. Glad to be there of this panel discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. And we also have Prabhu Niti Tarang, Senior Product Manager, HCL Technologies. Tarang is a product manager with a blend of business, technology, and design acumen, contributing to building and scaling global products. Working in digital transformation of enterprise, agile experience, and ID leadership. His specialty includes design thinking, value proposition design, UX design, product strategy, and product road mapping. Also, building smart products utilizing data-driven thinking, experimentation, and agile methodologies. Strong domain experience in fintech, retail banking, telecom, and food tech industries. He's a product evangelist, inspiring the next generation of professionals to build entrepreneurial skills. Tarang loves to play cricket and travel to explore new places. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro.
Thank you for being part of it.
Sharina, thank you so much. Thanks for the lovely introduction. And first of all, maybe we should start with thanking Anish, because I think it was a very insightful discussion. I'm sure all of our audience and all of us have really benefited from it. So I just saw that Anish moved on, but a big thank you to Anish for that wonderful session. Moving on, just a audio check. Are we all good? Shreyas, Prabhu, Prabhu, are we good?
Yeah, Kishan, we are able to hear. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is our audio clear? All right.
Yes, can hear you, can see you guys. So
Awesome.
good to go.
Thank you so much, Sharina. Yeah.
Awesome. So as we tread towards the second year of COVID hit online way of world, so here we are and doing an online panel, which is very interesting. So welcome to all of you to this panel discussion. Whoever are being the audience here, who we probably can see, but at this point of time. So thank you for joining. We really appreciate you taking your time on a Saturday to be with us here. what we would like to do in the next 1 hour is basically have a very candid conversation about um, how all of us, being alumni, being part of this executive MBA program, were able to make some changes, make some transformation, and bring about in our career. So we basically look at how the point A to point B looked like, and what happened in between, and the trials and tribulations of that. If I have to say, if I have to be dramatic about it, right? What was there in the crucible that changed this, or how did it go? And honestly, so a disclosure, right? So three of us last week decided that, hey, you know what, um, let's get together before the meeting. We obviously didn't want a scripted meeting, so this is not a scripted one. So we said, hey, what do we do? So yesterday we thought, okay, let's give it a thought. How should this panel discussion go? And we kind of, after all the Friday meetings, we kind of caught up at around 9:30 p.m. And 1 hour into the call, we just chatted about our general, it was like three friends talking. And probably, I don't know, maybe Tarang and Shreyas have met in their classes, but I haven't seen them personally. So it was like three friends catching up, and we had some awesome discussion about various things. I mean, I don't know if we actually came to the panel discussion topic at all, right? That's what our experience was. So what I feel is the next 1 hour, hopefully, is going to be a continuation of a candid conversation about our careers and how things changed. But we also want you guys to drive it. So while we'll try to see how can we kind of catch up with your questions on this, maybe Sharina, Suraj, if any of you can help us with questions right away. I mean, you can actually interject in between for the questions, but feel free to do that, because we want this to be driven by the team, driven by the audience, than having it. But we'll just go on with our candid conversation about how we made some changes and things like that. Happy to be driven by the team. So
Great.
welcome again, Tarang and Shreyas. Okay.
Thank you,
Kishan.
guys. There are already a lot of questions on the chat, Kishan, but we'll take that as you go.
Yeah.
All right. So once you start,
Sure.
then if there is anything that is, that's coming up again on
Sure.
your conversation, we can do that. Can you see the
Absolutely.
chats, Kishan, Shreyas, and Prabhu? Can you see the chats?
We can see the chats. Yeah, we can see the Q&A part of it.
Yeah.
So
So if you can see the Q&A, then you can take what you think is relevant from there, and then we
sure.
can get going. Thank
Sure.
you. Thank you
Sure.
for joining us, and thank you again. Over to you, Kishan.
Excellent, excellent. So just to give a quick understanding, right? So there is this guy who wanted to do who joined the Satcom company to do, who was like dreamy about being in ISRO, and he starts and he spends about a good amount of time there. And there is then that guy who wanted to do this and get into ISRO. There is Shreyas for us. And then on the other hand, we have the guy who actually is from the land of where the ISRO sends their rockets, Sriharikota. So and then there is me, I told, we are the control center. We are from Bangalore, and that's how our discussion started yesterday. But in all the things, all these things apart, we are all tied up with one thing. We were all trying to launch our careers. When I say launch, yes, you may think it launched in 17, 18 years back when we started. But you know what? There was this time, and I don't know how many of you relate to us, wherein you are literally trying to get into a new orbit. You are trying to see, how can I get that escape velocity to move from the stagnation that I'm stuck right now. So with that note, let's get started, right? The first thought I have in my mind is, let's start with Tarang, right? So a project manager, core project manager, being in delivery and operations in a fintech, all most of your career. Now, senior management. So before we senior product manager. So before that, let's go to that space, and I want to understand, what was it like in 2016 to be in 2016 where you were a project manager? What actually, I mean, I want to know tell us about the conditions which made you go to IPL. What was the things, what were going on in your mind? What was the crisis, or what was the career challenges you were having that made you take up this course?
That's a phenomenal question, Kishan. I would look at my life before IPL. So since you asked me from point A to point B, so you're asking me the question before what really happened before IPL. There are three specific challenges and crisis points that I personally went through being a project manager. So I was a project manager and a scrum master in HCL Technologies. No, most of the work as a project manager that I was doing was, preparing status reports, attending status meetings, meetings, reports, setting up status calls, a lot of this operational work, right? And I felt like somewhere I was really stuck in my own career. There was no way out because a lot of my time was just going in meetings and reports that I didn't know like how do I really learn about business and technology. So my skill set was poor. The job opportunities started dwindling for me, and I was literally kind of had. I mean, I was in a mindset of confusion. I was empty. I was frustrated with my job, and I had no clue how to really come out of this particular situation. And that is where IPL came into picture. So three specific things quickly. I was stuck. My job opportunities were very low, and literally, I mean, I was not in control of my career. Rather, my organization was in control of my career. So that was the point that I was there.
Right. Thanks, Tarang. That was interesting. I mean, so many things that I can relate to, and I hope if the audience has similar thoughts on that. Shreyas, what about you? Um, the fear of, hey, it's been a long time since I interviewed. We would have been settled in some kind of a comfort zone, or maybe we would be in a different thing, like, let's say a scrum master, or maybe into a technical role. We would have been there for a while. We would not have explored the market, and then you start pushing your resume out, and then you start seeing those feedbacks from the market that you start getting. Can you relate to that? What was your, I mean, do you relate to that feeling, and how was your pre-IPL feeling kind of adding up to? Tell us about.
Yeah, thanks, Kishan. So I was more on a technical side before I joined IPL. Uh, I was leading the team for building a good technical solutions, and that has that is something I have been doing for pretty much all the time throughout my career. Now, one thing which kept me bothering right from the beginning is there were multiple products or even the projects which we worked on seamlessly working in the weekends and even late nights. Ultimately, what happens is someone from the senior management comes and tells you that we couldn't find the customer for the product. There is no one using it, so probably might have to scrap it. And that is the frustration which landed me into the role of a product manager, or basically when I started searching for a solution that what is that I need to do. The other aspect which I was looking from a career perspective, again, I was working on relatively niche technologies. I was working in a kernel programming in a Linux domain, and the number of jobs were relatively getting reduced, and the technology was changing over a period. Um, though I was happy to learn the new technology, the challenge was when you have enough experience in one technology, switching a technology is still not being appreciated by the recruiters in that scenario. And that is something I was searching for, a way where I don't want this limitation for my career progression, that okay, this is the niche area, you have a domain experience, learn only into that. I wanted to expand my wings so that I can decide where I need to fly. So that is something which product management actually has given me now when I move forward. So yeah, that's overall my journey before IPL.
I can so relate to what you're saying, right? I mean, I was in Cisco for 12 years, NDS in Cisco for 12 years, and it was a very niche. I mean, you guys have seen it, right? So, uh, set-top box technology is something that is being, taken over by the Netflixes of the world. So we have seen that transition. This was way back in 2012, 2013. Now, on one hand, there is this domain which is probably sunsetting, if not anything. And then you've been in this role in this company for 12 long years. You have not, I don't know how many, that period when my resume was not up to date, right? I mean, you are like really wondering if I should even send this out. You don't know what to write. It was in that stage, right? And then let's fast forward to, okay, that was the situation under the condition. And I still clearly remember I came to one of my professor, and during my first few discussions of the IPL journey, I told him, boss, I'm here to basically get out of this orbit. I'm stuck in an orbit. I need that extra push to get out to the new orbit and start exploring myself, right? So from there, let me forward to point B for a while. I'll come to the middle process part of it, how we did it, what kind of challenges, and how we could, what all happened there. I want to see the point B now. So for fast forwarding to current date, right? So Shreyas, maybe I'll go with you next. You, from a technical person, for kernel programming and all, engineering guy with that frustration, telling who is using my product, to being a product manager right now. How did that interview go? You know, all your life, all your career was like engineering. And when the hiring manager sees your resume, you're now applying for product management. How did that actual interview go? As in, what kind of questions, what kind of challenges you had to even get to that stage?
Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about getting to that stage first because that has been a bigger challenge for me. Uh, Being from a technical background, your resume doesn't talk about a product management, and then getting that first interview scheduled for you is itself a bigger challenge. What helped me really is the connections that I made during my IPL journey, and that is something which actually helped me getting into that role. Uh, as Anish mentioned previously, right? Generally when you're moving from technical to product management, inbound product manager is kind of a natural switch for anyone, and that has been the benefit for me. Like I have recently worked on the APIs, building a platform for some of our clients, and that is something which Mindbody was also looking at when they were building the strength in Pune for a development center. They wanted someone who understand the engineering better as well as a good understanding or the empathy for the customer. So that is something that they tested on. Basically, the type of questions were first, what are the different stakeholders you will interact? Being an enterprise company with so many people around, they tested a lot based on how do I interact with the people, what kind of challenges I faced, and how did I try and overcome them. So that was the main part. Then of course they wanted to understand that what is my technical understanding on that, and fortunately I had a prior experience. uh, but having said that, I was not limited by the language I have used. Like I was a C++ guy, and the language programming language used here is .NET, C Sharp. I have never worked on that, so these things did not limit to me, and that is the limitation which I could overcome with this role in place. So yeah.
So I'll come to the process part of it, as I said, but I still want to know. Maybe I'll go to Tarang a minute. From project manager to product manager. I mean, tell me what exactly happened in that interview. We'll come to the how it happened part, but in that interview, why I'm asking is basically everyone faces this. Most of the people who are transitioning faces this, fundamental question where you are in your first interview for transition. After transition, you have positioned yourself as applied for some role and you have somehow got into an interview. How difficult was it? What kind of approach you had to take in order to crack that interview?
If you ask me the approach, actually, I mean, it was actually the IPL approach, the
Okay.
IPL approach. So we can probably discuss about the IPL approach probably a little later. But the kind of questions as a product manager, I think Anish put it so beautifully. How do you take this product and improve the design so that you can create 2x revenue? Or how do you really increase the customer satisfaction scores or the NPS scores? Uh, those were the kind of questions that were put to me in the interview, right? How do you come with a product roadmap, right? How do you ensure that we have the right set of features? How do you prioritize the backlog, right? How do you interact with different teams to come with the right backlog? These were the kind of questions that were posed to me, and I would never have probably solved all these when I was a project manager. So the learning curve that I had through IPL had a profound impact in kind of understanding all these questions, and that's how I was able to kind of scale it. It took me some time. It was not so easy. It was a long journey, but IPL kind of provided me the platform to build those experiential skills through experiential learning to practice. So I would put it that way.
So I'll kind of add one more thing to that, right? I'll probably extend that question a little bit. Agreed. Those are the kind of typical product management question that goes on there. But on your resume, by the way, IPL is Institute of Product Leadership.
Someone is
You know,
asking, yeah.
yeah, Hema, that's Institute of Product Leadership. That's the executive MBA that we were talking about. So anyway, Tarang, what trying to, okay, here's the point. The questions in the product management interview, yes, we understand that, but you had project management on your resume till very recently. Now, what does hiring manager look for? Because they want to hire someone who has product management. How were you able to cross that barrier? Because all your resume had was project management. Did you have you need someone to do it, right? I mean, you need the hiring manager would look for someone who has done it. So
Right.
from a theoretical upskilling, I can go and upskill, I can learn about product management as a course in 100 places. How did it requires some amount of practical exposure to what you have done. Otherwise, it will sound theoretical. What was that?
I think IPL had a beautiful platform called Product Labs. It is that product labs where you really take an industry challenge and apply all the theoretical knowledge of a product manager. You really work on this challenge and build a portfolio of demonstrable assets. That was the key thing which completely transformed my entire thought process. And it was that portfolio of demonstrable assets that I basically took to the hiring manager and say, hey, this is what I have built. It is not the resume. In fact, the hiring manager that at that time was not even looking at my resume. He said, show me how do you solve problems? Show me how did you solve this industry challenge? Show me, show me. So it was the portfolio of demonstrable assets that I've built by working on a practical industry challenge, which helped me to kind of crack that. So yeah, that's my answer to the question.
Okay, okay. So that's interesting. So let's change the track a little bit. So from the transition point of view, today we have maybe Shreyas can take this question as well. Today we have a lot of courses, right? We have multiple way in which you can understand the theory part of it. So is that is that enough, or what are the other things, what are top three things that you would want to do, you would recommend people to do if they want transition? Because learning something from a course is one thing. Tarang mentioned about the product labs. We will go deeper into that product labs because I want to talk about that in future. But apart from product labs, so what are the other things that you would want to do, you would be wanting to do in addition to learning theory?
Yep. So as Tarang mentioned, right, the product lab was the key part of it, our learning through the entire journey of the MBA. But frankly, when I was looking out for a change, I knew that I probably product management is the right place for me. After realizing that, the first thing as a person, I prefer getting a systematic approach or a learning that I will have someone teach me first the things and then I will learn it. So that was one place. After looking at, of course, as any individual who look at the different courses, IPL had different courses. There was a 6 months course, there is a 18 months MBA course, and then the first thing that comes to mind is the money that you're spending. Uh, but then what I decided basically based on, because this is something if I want to spend rest of my career in, then I would better spend enough time into this learning so that I can grasp that basic concepts and then apply that in the jobs that I'm going to do in future. And that was one of the reason. Of course, I had to talk with my wife, my family, that we are investing so much amount, and especially traveling from Pune to Bangalore alternate weekends because Pune center was not open that time. So it was a huge investment for me. Uh, and there was a risk associated when specifically when you don't know in advance what is going to happen with you. But I would say that yeah, it was a risk worth, and I really appreciate the learnings that I got from IPL.
Got it. Hey, the trend seems to be, at least I think we all of us agree. In fact, I completely agree with what you're saying, right? My experience also was that learning is important. That is, you learn, we had the user experience course. You can learn, product management has wide range of things. What is about sales enablement, you can go to requirements, you can go to strategy, product strategy, you can look at business, financial modeling, or you can have n number of courses that product managers can actually learn and skill up. But the question here is, uh, hiring managers want somebody who has done this before. Now we are learning, and this challenge, the way in which I had to personally, if I had to share my experience, is that find a way to apply. Because back at my work, at least when I was doing my MBA, I was, into program management or into something else. So our workplace may not offer everything that for you to go and apply. For example, you may not be interacting with the user experience team at all. So in such a case, we need to find that canvas, we need to find opportunities to actually go out and apply. And I know product labs is one thing that you guys are telling as one of them. We'll come to product labs in a while. What are others? Where else can people? So we are agreeing that the skill you learn, you have to apply. You have to find a way to apply, and this cannot be offered by an institute, or it cannot be just offered by some online course. So this finding this application of skill, you need to find opportunities. Let's talk about that for a minute. Any thoughts, Tarang?
I can share a couple of thoughts actually. So I was a project manager and I was literally stuck, right? That was my point, as I said before. So apart from product labs, IPL has this beautiful concept of learn on the weekend and apply the concepts whatever you learned on the weekend on the weekdays. So what I did was, apart from product labs, I started applying all the knowledge and all the frameworks in my own job. I was doing a project manager job, and I started learning, applying all these concepts. And see, product manager for me is not kind of a title, right? I mean, you can be a product, you can be an engineering hand, and you can apply all these frameworks. You can be a product designer, and you can apply all these frameworks. So I started applying on my regular work. And the moment my boss saw me that, hey, here is a guy who is able to kind of do the business model canvas. Here is a guy who is able to apply the user experience design. And the moment he saw that, like, I was doing a lot of these applications, he gave me this particular role in saying, hey, why can't you drive this initiative, this entire product innovation labs initiative within our own company? So that was one way that I was able to kind of crack that code. The second thing is, a lot of startups out there are actually looking out for. Most of the startups, they have an idea, but most of them, they may not have the systematic application of these frameworks. So kind of, go and probably, go to NASCOM. We have a NASCOM center which has close to around 8,000 ideas out there. The startups out there who probably can give you the volunteering experience, right? Where you can apply all these concepts. So I would say start with your job, where exactly you are, irrespective of what kind of role you have, start applying, start volunteering in the regular startups. And especially in Bangalore, we have humongous number of opportunities, right? Where you can go and actually volunteer. And also, of course, the product lab that I shared before. So these are the avenues where you can start applying, and you kind of drive this whole thing. Nobody needs to say that, this is right, this is wrong. No, you start applying it. You start taking the initiatives, and that's where I think the opportunities begin to come.
Kishan, just would like to share a bit more about that, my experience. So I have been working in a services company prior to IPL, or even when I was doing a course in IPL. And yeah, the same thing, applying in the same company, uh, terribly failed for me. Uh, One of the reason that, I did try, so the company was trying to develop some products along with the services offering. And then I did try to apply the things, uh, the way things that we have learned. And I did presented it to the people, even to the senior most director in the company. They heard it, they appreciated it, but they didn't apply it. So later I realized, there are different places where you have different things or different priorities. A priority for a services company, the majority of the time is, how many resources are on a bench, and how do I make sure that each resource earns the money that is required, because they live in a present. They they are thinking more about the work getting done today, and that is one experience which I learned. At the same time, when as a cohort, we actually took one assignment for one of the other company who were building the HRMS software for a SAP based organization. And we actually did a market research for them. And that is something which really helped us. It really helped them also. So that is something, uh, a small amount of money that you will get, but then that consultation actually really helped us to learn a lot of things practically, and actually hear from the people that, really, is it helping or not helping. So that feedback actually really helps. So yeah, just wanted to share that thought.
I can totally resonate with that, right? I mean, there was a period where I was actually, I was during my course, I was struggling with this question, and it takes a lot of courage. We went to about 30 startups, me and a couple of my cohort. We went to 30 startups and said, "Hey, you know what? We have some time during the weekends. We want to offer you this." And 24 of them outrightly rejected. "Hey, boss, PM is something that we cannot outsource and all, and blah blah blah." We were like politely declined. However, the bright side of it was six of them offered something. Six of them said, "Hey, can you do this value proposition analysis for us?" Hey, and one more guy said, can you do a competition analysis for that? I still remember one of them was basically this startup was actually getting these startups was actually getting into multi-brand car servicing. That is, you don't have a specific car brand that you service. You wanted to open a multi-brand car servicing. Man, we went ahead and did a competition analysis. In fact, some of these consultations didn't even pay, right? It was a pro bono activity. But trust me, that was not the point. The point was we got an opportunity to draw the canvas, right? We in you know the I always give this example. When you learn some skill, it's basically you're getting all these colorful crayons with you. But when you find an opportunity to use it, that's when you actually get a canvas to draw something on it. So there are two different things, and that was a huge experience and a humbling experience, guys, because it takes a lot of courage. It took a lot of you know shamelessness, so as to say, because you have to be ready for rejection to go and ask someone for work, and that was a huge kicking me out from the comfort zone. So that was a humbling experience and something that actually helped me. If I look back, that experience of trying to apply what you learn is something that take it. So that's on the skill application part of it. Now let me come to another thing, right? Okay, you apply all these skills, you find ways to apply all these skills. That's something that will come up. Maybe we can have some questions from the audience also if they have. However, how do you get to the job? How do you know about the job? There are hundreds of product management openings happening, and most of the product management, it's all networking is key. People say, right? Networking, I believe, and is a very critical part of it as well. And let us talk about networking. Let us talk about what networking is, what we did, and what we couldn't do, and what we would have done better. We'll spend some time on networking, is what I feel. So my question to let's say Shreyas is, what did networking mean to you before, and how has it changed now? What do you do?
Um, yeah. So LinkedIn has been predominantly, helping in getting the network to the right people, and that's a wonderful software that we have today. Uh, I have been like I never updated my profile. I never updated my resume before I joined IPL. The first thing that Pinkesh told that, guys, you need to be visible. If you're a diamond staying somewhere in Africa, people will not know about it. You have to highlight yourself. Once, if you highlight, then people will know what you have, and then only they will be able to talk. Uh, I can share a small experience of how I got into Mindbody, uh, purely based on networking. Before IPL, I joined one of the social summit where Bal, who is a CEO, managing director today at Mindbody India, was working with the NICE. I got introduced to him. The first thing that IPL taught is, whenever you meet to the people who you really want to connect to, first thing is get them connected on LinkedIn. We did that. And when I was actually looking for a job after my course was done, I was facing a lot of rejection, specifically because I didn't had a prior experience. And then one day I actually messaged Bal saying that, Bal, I think you are looking at some product manager role. I would be interested in. Bal is associated with IPL, so that was a benefit I got. Uh, he said that, probably we are looking for senior role right now, probably, but if there is a new role, I'll get back to you. Being persistent is also important in your networking. You can't just connect and then leave it there. You have to be asking people that that you want to do that. I did the same thing when the next opening came. I asked him again. He gave me an opportunity, and in the first round, and that was the first offer. First interview as a product manager got scheduled, or rather second, I would say. One was through the IPL, uh, uh, which got scheduled. But a second interview, I could get through it, all the rounds, and then could land into the job. So that's the importance of networking, especially when you're trying to switch from a different field.
Awesome. I think that's very
Sorry, I might
important,
have
right?
lost in between
No,
that.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We could hear you. I think that's very critical, right? That you start networking. But let me go to Tarang for a little bit. Where do you find people to network? I know there are, you're separated. If you take the degrees of freedom thing, you're separated from Bill Gates or Sundar Pichai, just three connections set. But with so many people on LinkedIn, and I'm not talking about Facebook friendship. Like, okay, go click click click, add friend, add friend, add friend. That is different. But how do you have a method? How do you practice networking, Tarang, and how do you kind of practice in a way that is beneficial and efficient for you to actually uh, pursue your career? It's a nuanced networking, I would say. It's not just go hit connect everywhere that pops up, but what is your approach to networking?
The way that I followed was, by the way, I got an internship. So within my own company, they were able to offer me. So, and by the way, I think Anish was absolutely right, as he said before. A lot of service-based companies in India as well are building products. They're also building products. They're also getting into agile, and that's where I got a role, right? So let me first talk about my internal networking first, and then probably talk about external networking.
Beautiful,
Inter-
very important point.
yeah,
Internal networking.
within your own company, there are, I mean, my own CEO kind of came with a new strategy of building products from HCM, right? That's like mode 1, 2, 3. Now, how do I as I mean, a product manager make myself visible? The first thing that I did was start writing blogs. Like there are different concepts that you go through, right? The value proposition design, the user experience design, right? The product innovation, the design thinking, the business model canvas. I began to kind of write blogs, and I kind of put them on my company internal website. There is a portion where actually you kind of get a chance. And I think all of us, right? Each of our companies, we have this place where you can write blogs. A lot of seniors are writing. So I began to write blogs, and someone said, "Hey, here is a guy who is actually thinking like a product manager. Can we basically connect?" So at that moment, when I was actually writing blogs, I had no, in fact, I didn't even have a clue that my company was actually building products, and that was my position then. But someone said, "Hey, here is a guy who is actually seems to kind of start thinking product opportunity. So let's basically give him an opportunity." And so that guy recognized me, and that's where the connect happened. And the moment the connect happened, I was also ready with how do I build products by the portfolio of demonstrable assets, right? It's very important because he was really wanting to see, tell me how did you build this product, tell me how did you solve this problem, show me how, right? So I also kind of built the portfolio of demonstrable assets, and a lot of my learning happened by doing things. Because most of the times I've seen a product managers just going to a YouTube video or some kind of a video out there, getting some theoretical knowledge, and then probably saying that they've kind of become product managers. No, I think the learning doesn't happen that way. You learn by doing, you learn by applying those skills, and you learn by building those portfolio of demonstrable assets, which I think Kishan is going to talk about soon. I build it. So blog writing, and then the moment I got the connections, I showed this particular portfolio of demonstrable assets, and that really clicked for me. It was not easy, but I think this is a very predictable approach to kind of get recognized within your own company. Outside, I think Shreyas already talked about network. It doesn't matter, guys. Network with the right community, right? And I feel the same approach can also be applied in LinkedIn. Start writing blogs. If you're kind of, I mean, it doesn't matter whether, don't always think about a perfect blog out there. Please don't do that. Start writing blogs. Start connecting with your IPL. I mean, IPL provides a beautiful platform where you can connect with a lot of product managers and product leaderships.
Yeah.
Please be part of this. Please be part of this family. In fact, I always say that even if I come out of IPL, I mean, I'm still part of this family for the next 20 years. My life within IPL doesn't stop once complete my MBA. It's going to be for the next 20 years. So that's how I network with Kishan, Shreyas, and all these people. be part of this, be part of these communities, and that's how you can basically get opportunities.
I absolutely kind of resonate with one of the point that you mentioned, which is, I mean, I agree with you on all the points, no doubt about it. But something that resonated really well with me is power of internal networking. Most of us hesitate to talk to leadership team in our own company, and having that open conversation can be a really game changer. That said, let me come to how my networking. One of the simplest way was in after every class. We were talking with practitioners, man. I mean, on every class, after every class in the MBA, right? And the teacher was actually a practitioner. He was there. He was practicing product management. He was practicing user experience. One thing I always ensured was to connect. I mean, you have the benefit of someone having 6 feet away from you, right? And using the lunch breaks, and that was like the awesome period, and that's something that I miss today, because you can't get that access today. It's as in, because for all online things and stuff like that, you have you see people, you see very, very accomplished people right in front of you. That is my first thing. The second thing I have to say about networking is, you don't always have to connect to the CEO and call it networking. I mean, please talk to professionals around you. I mean, there are so many guys. I'm telling you, that is the most people think networking means, talking to some VP, talking to some senior VP. It's not. Networking is not just about vertical scales. It's also about how you build your peer network. Have some great. That is the second part, and I have been practicing that. And guys, think about it. We just had a great conversation last evening. It was nothing to do about any specific topic. We spoke just for the bliss of talking products, right? How was it? That is networking. And the third important thing whenever I talk about networking is a two-way street, guys. That is one of and I have seen this. Many people do this. They approach me. I have seen many people approach me, and when people and I've seen this do many people, it is not a one-way street. It's not like I connect to someone and only ask him when I need an opportunity. Networking needs nurturing. You need to nurture networks, even when and you need to you need to ask what's in it for them. How can you be of value to them? How can you help? If it is a super senior, can you help? If it is your peer, can you connect them with opportunities? And how frequently do you get in touch with? I for example, in COVID period, lockdown period, I made one rule. Okay, every evening 5:30 I used to talk to someone from my LinkedIn network. So I mean, yes, we connected online, we just had met them. It was not definitely a personal connect. We spoke about IoT, we exchanged ideas, we spoke about what works in IoT, and that sort of building. So networking is not one-way street, and that is one very important thing I tell you about. And lot of this nurturing network has helped me, because and when I say nurturing, specifically connecting people to opportunities, that is the key thing in networking. It's not just, okay, people do it, right, fill it, forget it, and shut it. So hit the connect button on LinkedIn, forget it. No, imagine. Exactly, Anish. Thanks for Anish has been in the background, really helping us there, as in he's kind of
That's good.
I don't know if we can get Anish also. Anish, we'll love you if you can come online as well. We would love to have the
Online or
conversation with
come
you.
on to the yeah, probably to our
Yeah,
panel.
yeah, if you
Definitely.
can join. I mean, I know Sharina probably, we would love to have you on the this one as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
I can do that. Anish,
if you
Yeah,
don't
you're
mind,
okay to
Anish, that
join?
is.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love the conversation. I just wanted to let you guys speak all relevant points and hearing from actual examples of how you guys did it and got to this role. It's not easy, but you
Yeah.
have to take effort. Just doing a course is not going to get you the job,
Absolutely.
right? Um,
Absolutely, I agree, Anish.
People have to notice you, right? I've hired, as I mentioned, right, I've hired people internally. How did I notice them? Because they came, they spoke, they asked, and they showed examples of, yes, I can do. What else is needed? So when there is an opportunity, I said, yeah, let's start, let's try next 3 months. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, leave it. Because some people from outside in, it feels very nice to get into the product manager role. And when they get in, they may find it's difficult. These are people who have not done a course in IPL. They still got an opportunity. So if you have done a course in IPL, double bonanza, right? Because you've done it, you know what it takes to be a PM,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
I would like to add a point, if I may, just quickly,
please.
because this was another way that you can actually, I think Anish really spoke well. Anish also touched up on this point. See, when you really want to show that you are a product manager, here I am, guys, recognize me.
I've arrived.
Another way of doing is start getting into leadership talks, right? There are a lot of product connects that may be happening within your own company. In fact, there are digital transformation talks, there are TEDx talks, there are product festival talks that IPL basically connects, and there are talks like this. Come and showcase what you guys are doing in your own company, right? Start volunteering for that. I mean, it's one thing to say I keep my learning for myself, this is me and my family. No, come back and give back to the society. And I think that's another thing that I learned from IPL. A lot of people, leaders like Anish and plenty of other people, Pinkesh, Sai, who come back and give back to the community. In fact, that really paid off very well for me, right? So when I started giving back to the society, giving back to the people who may not be having the privilege to join the IPL community, people began to recognize me that, hey, here is a guy who basically has that skill set, right? So come back, connect with these product leaders. Come back to these industry connects, product leadership festivals, or connects in your own company, and that's how you can get recognized by the senior leadership team. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think an important point Bharti makes, right? It is the mindset that can I approach? What will they think? Am I fit for this role? Am I good enough? Why? It is your own creation. No one has told you are fit or not. Do not make a decision for yourself. Move forward, start interacting. You never know where opportunity will come, who will provide the opportunity, how you will get it, what conversation will trigger. A simple example I can tell you is I've had instances where engineers, pure developers, not even leads managers, they have gotten to saying, working with PM saying, I will draft the requirement, let me design it, I will take the load off from you.
Yeah.
They've taken that opportunity, they've grabbed that opportunity, start writing, they've built it, they've designed it, they work with saying, okay, this is the wireframe, what do you think of it? It will not be perfect, not great, but the PM observes it. Oh, wow, this person can think in this direction. Maybe when an opportunity comes, can we actually move him in team? I will mentor him. And that is an opportunity that comes. This is not going to happen if you don't bring that up. You'll have to take that opportunity, and wherever that may be, right? This is one example I'm telling you. It could be testers who are defining requirements more detail, helping in the conversation, bringing more scenarios to say, what about this? What about this? What about this? Right? These are scenarios we have not thought. Engineers, PMs, you have not thought. Come on, I think we should. PM would say, oh, wow, this person is able to think like a customer. That's
Absolutely.
where, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think all of us agree. And at some point of time, and during this transition, we all have done is ask the question, how can we help? And when we say how can we help, it is not to some random people. Go to the people who matter. Go to the people who where you can contribute. You have the skill. And I think if we just take the limitation of just, hey, I have to get paid only in order to do this, I have to get paid. If we just remove that part from the mind, and this is a huge concept called paying it forward, which we have practiced. I think a lot of us have practiced, and this is something that is very common in IPL. I mean, if you're part of this IPL thing, we this pay it forward, you will have heard it multiple times. And the question is, how can we help? And when you say how can we help, like Anish just mentioned, you go to your leadership team. Let's go to your CPO. Let's go to your vice president product and say, hey, I have some time. Because of this work from home and all, I'm able to balance. I've avoided this traffic time. Is there some presentation that I can work on? It can be as simple as that. Go to your product manager and say, hey, boss, look, I know product management is yours. Let me do this competition analysis for you and present it to you. If you find it good, fine. Otherwise, you can, you know what to do. So this two things: ability to drive such conversation, go yourself, push yourself out of comfort zone and doing that, and actually going out with a volunteering mindset, going out with a pro bono mindset and telling do that is awesome. By the way, it need not be internal also. We can talk to hundreds of startups out there who cannot afford product managers. Guys, remember that on one hand, we are all product trying to become product managers, trying to fit supply and demand. There are startups who can't, who can definitely use your skills, and there you are, you have skills and you are finding for places to apply. All we need to do is bring that, and that is something that has really changed the game for us. And I must acknowledge my professors here at IPL to do this, specifically Akshay Charian, Benkesh, uh, and a couple of others who actually motivated us to kind of go and do this. um, so that's on that. So let's move on to the next topic. So we spoke about skill application. How is it important for not just learn but apply? We said, hey, now we know something, we have applied it, and we have some kind of working knowledge of it. Let's go to let's do some good networking to see how we can connect opportunities. The third thing is a very important subtle thing: mentors and coaches, right? It's very subtle. We want to talk about that, right? How do you fit into this ecosystem? As in, how do you make sure that you leverage this mentors in your transition? Maybe Shreyas, if you can go.
Um, so yeah, leveraging about mentors. So one thing I always kept. So IPL has this coaching assignments also, and frankly, the biggest challenge for me was the industry which I work, the storage industry, doesn't have too many products being built in India. Majority of the products are built outside the India. So having a product manager within India was a little tricky. People were asking me that, why do you think you want to get into product management? Your experience says that you will not need a product manager in India. Rather, people who are in US or outside where the customer are there, we need a PMs over there. So how do you crack that thing? And the biggest challenge for me was, switching your domain as well as switching your function, both the things, which was the biggest challenge. That uh, if I do that, would I be successful? And then when I talked to our coach, what he said is, yeah, it is definitely important that you switch only one thing at a time, because if you do both, change both the thing, you're changing your technology, you're changing your functional role, both at the same time would be really tricky. uh, and that's actually gave me a good idea, how do I approach to which companies I should approach, and how do I network with them. So all these things are relevant, and then this question should be answered by the right people at the right time. And that's where I feel the mentorship or the coaching helps when you are doing these transitions.
Actually, it's a very interesting point. As we are talking about, I think we have a question from Hardik who says how to brush up the skill to work with people, your team or other team. And interestingly, we are on the part of mentorship, right? So the best way you can approach somebody from another team or is probably see them as a mentor. Let's say that there are chances that you know uh, we may not be an expert on some subject. You can always approach an expert and say, hey, 15 minutes of time in a month, I just want to get your insights on this. So that's a great way to approach. But I'll let Tarang also take that question. How to brush up the skill to work with people, your team or the other teams.
I think Shreyas talked about it, and I think Kishan, you also spoke about probably reaching out to them as mentors. But in my journey, when I was actually transitioning from project manager to product manager, there are two or three things that mentors really helped me, which I really want to kind of showcase. See, I was living in a society, and as you said, my dad was an ISRO scientist, and somewhere I couldn't really fit into that kind of community, right? I kind of grew up in a scientific community, and being number one, being successful is kind of defines your entire identity, right? You need to be the number one in the class. You need to be the number one in the college. You need to get into the IIT. You need to get into the IIMs. You need to become the CEO. I mean, that's the kind of mindset or the community that I think most of us, our Indian students, have been growing up. What my mentors taught me, and I think that's a powerful lesson which kind of changed my life, is the importance of failure. Anish beautifully put this very well, I think, in his talk. Guys, I kind of went through plenty of failures, but then it was the failures which taught me the most important lessons in life. See, if the pen here, if it just goes up and comes down, there is nothing to learn. But if the pen here goes up and it doesn't fall down, then there is a learning. And there is no other better way to learn things apart from your failures. And so the importance of failing and learning from those, getting better, failing, learning from those, getting better. I think that is what my mentor basically, taught me. And that was one thing which really kind of changed my perspective about building products, right?
Yeah.
So I was messing up a whole lot of things, huh? Because the moment you're a project manager, you don't even know how to build products. But almost at every single step, the wisdom and the guidance that I received from mentorship was just awesome. Right? It kind of opens your thought, opens your mind to a new way of thinking, to a new world of thinking.
And
Right?
I
Importance of
think this.
failure and then the wisdom that I was getting were the crucial things, right? And I think someone was talking about being hesitant. Ma'am, don't worry about, see, don't always expect to be the best in the very first version of yourself. The first product that you basically develop is always going to be crappy, and people are going to comment. But that's the best way to learn. What else? If everybody starts applauding you in the very first version of your product, there is no learning at all. People should comment, people should, and take that as a feedback and improvise, right? That is how, someone said, life is an agile. Bingo, absolutely, right on dot. Every time it is the failures, it is the continuous way of improvising yourself and getting that wisdom from your mentorships. I feel is the only way that we can become really better as product leaders.
I think that answers Hardik's question really well, right? How to brush up the skill to work with people. Just do it. The simple answer, and I think that is the key thing that we all learned. One thing that we all will vouch for. Just go and do it. Just, what do you mean work? Talk to them, start talking to them. What can happen? What can happen? Nothing can go wrong. I mean, what is the maximum that can go wrong? Maybe the person will ignore you and not talk. Then, we move on to the next thing. So the best way to kind of get things, the best way to get things done is to get started. And that brings us to probably the most critical aspects of the learning in this whole transformation is, and I think that is a game changer for me. And I I I have a book. Actually, I had a book recommendation from one of my professors, mentors in IPL, which was "So Good They Cannot Ignore You." It's by Cal Newport. It's by Cal Newport. You can look up on the internet, I'll when I get a next chance, I'll type it on the chat as well. It's called "So Good They Cannot Ignore You," where Cal Newport actually propagates a theory called passion. Follow your passion is probably a bad advice in your journey to find a great job, right? But what he says is, it is craftsmanship. You need to build things. You need to do. You need to start doing. He takes examples of musicians, chess players. He takes example of none less than Steve Jobs to show it was not just passion. It was not passion, but it was sheer determination and craftsmanship that took them there. And that, I think, is the essence of it. Because look, we have made domain transition. So let's go to Shreyas. You have made a domain transition. Trust me, on day one, I'm sure it was not it was not passion that driven you. What drove you? How did you get through it? How did you get started with it?
Uh, yeah, so domain transition was definitely a difficult part because the company that I'm working is in a wellness domain, and I have never worked with any software which talks about wellness. So first of all, understanding what a wellness mean to that company, uh, then trying to get a more feel of how the people work, what is the culture all about. Uh, the teams which I have worked, we were having like a team of 30 all people working for a single project when I before joining. But the teams here are more of a product teams where there are only 4 to 5 engineering members or designers who are driving some of the concepts. Uh, it's not also about a technology that you're using, but also the way you're working. Like here, the company call it as a concepts or ideation. The best part is they have like a pretty rigorous road mapping exercise which happens across different business units. They identify the dependencies and all these things. So that is something which has been a huge learning for me. And yeah, so what I would suggest is, yeah, don't get limited or don't limit yourself that this is something I have never done before. How do I do that? Um, as Kishan mentioned, just do it. You just have to jump into the pool and you'll start swimming. Of course, you should know about it a bit. Little bit of training is needed, but then uh, after that, it is all about applying the things. Start talking, start applying the things that you have.
Awesome. Awesome. So I think we are, how are we doing on time, Sharina? Are we okay, or how do we,
We
well,
are okay if maybe another couple of minutes, and you could be doing some taking some questions.
awesome. Awesome. Why don't you guys start, sharing your questions? Maybe something that, we all of us are here. Any thoughts that you want to have are good. But in the meanwhile, let me talk about one last topic. Hey, I am a product, I am in X domain. I am, let's say, in service industry. I am in, let's say, healthcare domain. And when you look at product management as a transition, it is not often that, you get hundreds of product management opportunities in healthcare only. There could be a case, and maybe Anish, you also can pitch in here if you can, please, is I need to change domains. I have an opportunity as a product manager in, let's say, a totally different tech. What is the take on domain change when it comes to transitions? What are your thoughts?
I can go. My perspective: a product manager does not need to have a domain experience always. Some organizations may want the domain experience only to fast track, and they don't have the time to bring up someone up to speed. Right? They will always have a position which is junior position probably, or someone who does not need a domain experience. So you'll have to tap into that. The reason I'm saying that the domain is not really important is a product manager by mindset is understanding customer, empathy, and translating that into a awesome product. Domain does
True.
not matter. Healthcare, financial services, retail, whatever that is. It's all about understanding, okay, I'm building this product. Do I know my customers well? Do I have the skill set to go in deep, understand stated and unstated requirements? Can I get a sense of what is needed? Do I have that idea that will make this product successful? That is the mindset that's needed. Domain will happen. 2 months, 3 months, you'll catch the domain. Maximum 6 months, you'll get it. So domain is, don't get stuck saying, I don't have domain knowledge, so I can't transition. What you need to focus is on core fundamentals of
Ab-
what's needed.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't agree with you more on this, and I'm living the dream. So set-top boxes, 12 years, industrial IoT for 4 or 5 years, and now cloud infrastructure. Tell me about it. I mean, yes, that is one of the biggest question. Yes, is it challenging? It is challenging. It is challenging. It's not a piece of cake. And I think Shreyas can talk about it too, from being into storage and now into wellness. It is challenging, but it is, as Anish also mentioned, customer focus. The product manager actually brings a totally new level of new different set of skills that you need to bring onto the table. In fact, you can actually turn this into an advantage because you're coming fresh, you're bringing a new perspective into this. And who knows, it's all about new business model. Business model innovation is what is the next thing. It's not technology innovation, it's business model innovation is the next thing, and you may probably hit it. I'll go to Tarang and talk about this. Tarang, what are your comments on this?
Definitely, Anish. I think I agree with all of you. So, see, I made a transition from core banking to a fintech. And I've also worked in food tech as well. Swiggy was one of the industry challenges that we worked on, right? Uh, I mean, let me take a step back and just kind of understand. So currently, like every single industry is getting disrupted. Every single industry, be it the food tech industry, the banking industry, the healthcare industry. And I think Anish made a very important point, which is your mindset. For me, right, it was the mindset of the product manager and not necessarily the domain aspect which really helped me to grow in my own role. In fact, I would say 80% of what I do is actually the mindset. I bring in the mindset to my workplace, right? So at the moment I started, solving the challenges in the food tech industry, I was able to have a much better context in my own fintech industry, right? Because it's the kind of mindset that you bring in again from food tech or fintech or healthcare. So product manager skills are something which I would say are domain agnostic. You can apply the skills across domains and you can basically build new value propositions and new product innovations across domains. And that's the beauty of IPL. You kind of go through this entire product journey, starting from product inception idea, coming up with solutions, road mapping till it goes live, understand how this particular thing is impacting the end society. You kind of go through this entire journey, not just theoretically, but by doing, right? So that's another thing that IPL emphasizes: learn by doing, build that portfolio of demonstrable assets. And when we go through this journey once, a practical exposure, I think you say, bring it on, bring the domain on, bring any kind of a challenge on. I can solve it for you and I can come up with new value propositions. You will be in that kind of a position. And I feel that's personally has what has happened to me. And that's what I recommend, all of you who are actually wanting to transition into partnership. Yeah.
That's awesome. Ashish, I just noticed your question. I know Shreyas has responded to that. It says, would like to hear the panelists' experience on transitioning from non-product roles to product leadership roles, especially around how to go about building credibility. So that's a very interesting question. And if I have to look at that, right, a product manager, fortunately or unfortunately, is at the center of certain things. Look at this way. A product manager interacts with engineering, marketing, sales, operations, legal, user experience, customer, whatnot. So in a sense, you are in the center. Now, we were in a cohort, and I think Tarang and Shreyas can also add to this. In our cohort, we had people who were from sales, people who were from marketing, people who were from core engineering, people who were from operations like program management, project management. We even had a doctor, for God's sakes, and who is an amazing individual, by the way. I mean, he shares Shreyas's last name, but he is an amazing individual, and his journey was really inspiring, and the way he looked at product. So is it handed off on the plate easily? No, Ashish. No, I mean, we all agree that it is not. But you raised a good point about bringing credibility, and I always want to believe that the if you actually have a chance to catch up on the book, so good they cannot ignore you. You'll see this, and I say this often because it's been a game changer in my life. You need to earn your stripes. You need to build it. You need to that incremental deliveries, the incremental confidence building that you need to happen with different stakeholders. That is something that will help build credibility, is something that I feel about. I have another question from Satish. Maybe we'll give it to one of the panelists. Product manager is the CEO of the product without power. True. How to manage dynamically changing customer requirements at one end, tight timelines, and at other end, and not up to the desired level of competent staff. Is there any specific way, strategy for this? How to manage all the stakeholders in a better way?
So
Wow. Okay.
I called that out in my slide, right? It said, it is not easy. The expectation is very high. You cannot keep everyone happy. There are people who are going to be disappointed because you have to say no to someone. Changing requirements, sales pressure. And once you sign up for that, you have to deliver on time. Otherwise, the customer is going to be pissed off. Referenceability will go away. And in the process, what you have done, you have signed up your entire engineering team to focus on one customer or two customer requirements. Happens, oh, $1 million customer, you have to do everything that they need. It'll drift you down a path of building products specific to customers. So you should be able to say, no, this is not the right thing for this product. Set the expectation. So it's going to be difficult, right? But it depends on where your product is. If your product is in the first phase, that's a new product, you have to do what that one customer needs to take it to the market. You need a paying customer, but soon you have to realize the same model cannot continue for long. You have to switch over to say, okay, now I'm putting in processes in place. It can't be dynamic. I can't change my roadmap. Earlier my roadmap said June release. Now because a customer is needed, I will do something in May. No, it may be okay at one point in time, not for long run. So you should be able to quickly change and push back. It's not going to be easy because you're going to be pushing back to the chief product officers, VP of sales, who will escalate to the CEO. CEO will push it down, or anyone, all seniors will push your way, because you're holding what needs to be built as part of the next product. So you will be in the line of fire all the time. They will take you and throw you in front of the customer saying that, okay, go and say and help us win the deal. Now, as soon as you are in front of a customer, which means you're forced to commit and say, oh yeah, I will do. That is where the tricky thing is. Once you've signed up in front of a customer, you're done, right? So you have to set the expectation very clearly. You need to know what it is, understand where this is going to take you. Be careful. You overcommit to customer. Happens all the time in enterprise software.
Dr. Satish, that was a very very interesting question, and thanks Anish for an equally interesting response. Now, it all trickles down to one thing: priorities in the end. We can talk about it all day. We can talk about priority. It's all like coming to priorities. And let me throw this open question to all our panelists, including Anish. Maybe you guys can take about 30 seconds to talk about each one of them. How do you? Yes, Sharina, thanks. We'll go towards the wrapping up of it. We are heading at the top of the time. So I want to know one answer in all your professions, and maybe we'll start with Prabhu, Shreyas, and then go to Anish, and maybe I'll try and add myself on that. 30 seconds on what is your mantra for prioritization? How do you prioritize? Because we know it's a mad world out there. What do you do?
Since you asked for a 30-second answer,
yeah, I
for
know
me as a
we can talk about it for long, so 30 seconds.
Because that's been the toughest part, right? There is nothing like a physical formula I can give you saying, "Chalo, this is the formula," and there you go. But one thing probably, if you had asked one thing, you need to be very clear about what is your product vision and strategy. You need to be crystal clear what exactly as a business we are trying to achieve, right? Be very clear about where are we going, right? That is succinct for you to kind of prioritize the kind of tasks that you want to do. Because I think Anish was right. Customers, sales, CPOs, your own boss, everybody, they'll pack your product backlog with bunch of features and say, do it. And the moment you give a commitment, it's very difficult. So how do you say no to a lot of things? How do you prioritize your backlog? There are a bunch of techniques. I don't want to get in 3D, but one thing I say, be very clear with your product vision and strategy, where do you want to go. And once you have that clarity, then I think
vision and strategy. Vision and strategy. Thanks. I'll come to you. Shreyas.
Definitely. Vision keeps your direction. It keeps you aligned in where you really want to go as a company. What I look for generally is, assuming it is aligned with the vision of the company, is desirability, visibility, viability, and feasibility. So intersection of these three circles is something which is kind of in my head. First thing when any requirement comes, I try to map it to this three circle diagram that, is it desirable? Is it really feasible? Is it viable for the business? If we can identify that, probably then I would say it's a high level of prioritization that we can do with this three circles, and then probably you can go deeper down to the other prioritization techniques.
Awesome, thank you, Shreyas. Now Anish.
Yeah, I usually
for prioritization.
Yeah, it is prioritization, and I usually throw in a framework and blame it on that, right? I put in a framework saying, okay, is it going to help customers? Is it going to help get into a new territory or geography or a new vertical, right? Or you want to enter Africa market? Okay, this is the one. Is it going to help us get a better rating from an analyst? Is this going to be a referenceable customer? Is this going to help reduce our support cost, maintenance cost? Put a bunch of things, answer this question based on what is asked, give it a score, and say, yeah, right now, based on all of these parameters, these are the top things that I think we should be doing. It does not fall into this. You still want to do it. We're ready to go it, but you can imagine it does not allow us to do 4 other things, which may be $10 million, but we are looking at $1 million kind of prioritization. Are you okay with it? Have a transparent view. Someone overrides it, document it, minutes of the meeting saying it was your decision. I was not in line with that. Put some framework in mind and try to push it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved your thing. It's, you blame it on the framework. You implement and blame it on a framework. That's awesome. So, by the way, we have one more interesting conversation from Venkat. You are right. Prioritization from whose point of view? As a product manager, you are always at this crossroads. So, let me tell what is mine. I have a best friend called data. So I try to, in the end, can you quantify it to a money dollar value? Most likely it will be yes. I think then you have your best friend. So once you have that, probably it's slightly easier to handle all your stakeholders. But that's a very easy thing to say. But and by the way, what I notice is this discussion can go on, and a lot of interesting conversations are coming up. But unfortunately, we have to wrap up now. It's time. It's top of the hour. Sharina is actually has already pinged me once. Um Thank you very much, folks. Thank you for all your time being here and those wonderful questions. As a wrap up, here is what I just we want to part with the last 30 seconds. I'll probably go 30 seconds to each of you, and maybe we'll wind up. Let's get started with Anish. Do you want to have a 30-second wrap up in terms of this session?
I think all very, very good discussion, very good questions. So thanks for asking the right questions, because this is what is going to help you and others. So in essence, while we spoke a lot of things, put yourself as a priority, understand what you want to do, what interests you, don't give up. There'll be a lot of ups and downs. Don't get disappointed if people are saying no and you're not fit. It's not because of you, it's because of them. You're not, even if you get into that role, you may not be happy. So it's okay. Go for where your need is.
Awesome. Thanks, Anish. Thank you so much. Shreyas.
Yeah, so to wrap up, probably assuming the audience is someone who are looking to get into a PM role uh, or already in a PM role. But then one thing I learned from my own experience is don't lose the curiosity of your life, because that is something which really help in this particular role. If you are curious enough, if you are really empathetic to your customer, then nothing can stop you. And yeah, leverage the connection. That is the most important thing if you are working in a bigger organization. Otherwise, you need to connect with different people and make sure your connections make others hear what you feel and what you think about it. So yeah, these two things I would like to highlight.
Thank you, Shreyas. Thank you so much. Tarang.
I think this particular conversation was equally enlightening to me, and the audience as well. It was equally enlightening to all of panelists, and thanks to even Anish for sharing a lot of insights. Just two things. Uh, it's not just the passion. I think Kishan Mala talked about. It's not just the passion, but build that craftsmanship, build that portfolio of demonstrable assets, right? Build that skill, and that is how you land up into jobs. Second thing is go out into the world, proclaim that you are here as a product manager who can basically bring out the next version or the next best product. Go and proclaim into the world. You can use a lot of platforms like LinkedIn, blog writing stuff, and things like that. But just proclaim to the world that you are here to make a difference to the lives of people around.
Thank you, Tarang. So that brings us to the end of the conversation. As someone who love bullet points, I have 4 bullet points for all of you. Skill up, first thing. In your journey for transition, I have 4 bullet points for you. Skill up, apply, find ways to apply wherever it is, whatever it takes, find ways to apply. Third thing is network and nurture. Nurture the network. Network and nurture. Can't say this enough. Don't just network, nurture the network. And the last point is, guys, find mentors, good mentors, and that could go a long way. And trust me, all of us here, one of the way in which we have done transition is we have taken the support of mentors. And I cannot tell this enough. With that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful audience. Great questions. Would love to connect with each of you. Have my network with each of you. Our LinkedIn profiles are available. You can look up on us, and we'd definitely love to connect with you and have great conversations with you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, IPL, for giving us an opportunity to have this conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our panelists, and thank you for being here. In view of the time constraints, I apologize to the audience that we will have to end the Q&A because we didn't have too much time. But thank you very much for throwing light on product management and and bringing IPL into also the fore, and how we are very good with learning by doing, and for your experience sharing as students as well. Thank you very much, panel, and Anish, Kishan, Shreyas, Tarang, thank you very much for being part of our program today and for the info session. For any further questions, audience can connect with with all of them over LinkedIn or other medium. We have enjoyed having you with us, dear alumni. It has been a complete pleasure. Thank you once again. Appreciate you all taking time off and throwing more light on product management. And audience, thank you for joining in. It was great interacting with all of you. Do take care and stay safe. With that note, I end today's session. Happy learning and stay skilled. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Yes.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, audience.